Today, I'm going to show you everything you need to know to start your own successful podcast. From the gear you need to use, the software you need to edit, and how to actually host and distribute your podcast to the world. And I can promise you right now, it's easier than you think. Quick thanks to Buzzsprout, who is the sponsor of today's video, and a very fitting one at that, since Buzzsprout is an easy-to-use platform that lets you host, promote, and track your podcast. Check out the link in the description below to get your podcast started for free. So I'm going to break this video into 3 easy-to-understand parts: the gear you need to record your podcast, the software you need to record and edit, and most importantly, the best way to host and distribute your podcast across all of the major listening platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and more. Let's start with the gear. Before you pick out your recording gear, you need to first determine if this is going to be a one-person setup or a setup for 2 or more people that will be on the podcast. Now, one big change we saw in 2020, for obvious reasons, was the rise of remote podcasting, where rather than having multiple people sitting in a room to record, you would have each person on the podcast call in digitally from different locations. If this is the type of setup you're looking into, whether it be temporary or long-term, that would still be considered a one-person setup for this video. In that case, you really just need 3 things: a good microphone to plug into your computer, an arm for your mic, and some headphones. I would recommend a USB mic since they are generally more affordable and they are extremely easy to use. The Blue Yeti is one of the most popular USB mics for podcasts, and you can currently pick one up for about $130. If you are really on a budget but want something better than your built-in microphone on your laptop, you could get a Blue Snowball, which normally sells for $50, but it's common to see that price higher right now due to the high demand in microphones, especially budget microphones. It's not as great as the Yeti, but it's still not bad, and I'll link to a video I did years ago that got over 1 million views, and I used that $50 mic to record the audio for it. My top recommendation for a mic is the Elgato Wave, which was just introduced last year in 2020, and it's quickly become regarded as one of the best, if not the best, USB mics on the market. It comes with its own software that lets you really customize the sound of your microphone, and that's something that you normally only get with XLR mics, and then you have to have, some kind of big panel sitting next to you with a bunch of knobs to adjust. And the best part is you can pick this up for the same price as a Blue Yeti, and it does so much more. I'll link to that below along with a full review of that mic that I did just a little while back if you're interested in checking that one out. The last thing I'll say about USB mics is really try to get one that you can physically connect your headphones to. This isn't required, but just a suggestion. That way you can get real-time audio feedback with your voice without having to get crazy with software configurations. A lot of times when you try to listen to the audio from the computer instead of directly from the mic, there's a little bit of a delay, and that gets really annoying really fast when you're trying to record a podcast. Both the Blue Yeti mic and the Elgato Wave have that ability. Now, if you are planning on recording with multiple people in the same room, USB mics can get tricky since computers often have a hard time accepting multiple audio inputs at once, especially when it's the exact same type of mic. There are ways around this, but it generally requires more equipment or complicated software configurations, and the goal of this video is to get you up and running as easy as possible. I recently did a video outlining my favorite podcasting setup for multiple people that I'll link to below, and it involves recording from XLR mics that feed into a Zoom H6 recorder. It's a little bit more expensive, but it has some big advantages. First off, the sound is incredible and very professional and can even sound good in noisy environments. It also records directly into an SD card, which means you don't have to deal with any of the software or computers while you record, and your podcast becomes extremely mobile since you aren't tied to a computer. So if your plan is to travel around to record your show, or you need to constantly take down and reset up your mics, this is a great solution for that. As for an arm that holds your mic, again, not required, but really handy to have just because it's a consistent place that your mic sits, upright by your mouth, and it's not down here in the desk where you have to kind of keep, bobbing your head up and down. These arms are very much you get what you pay for. The nicer studio setup I just mentioned uses arms from Rode that have a lot of flexibility and durability to them, but they're gonna cost you about $100 per arm. For my one-person setup over here, I've been using the same like $15 scissor arm you can get from Newer on Amazon, and I've had that for 6 years. And yeah, it's starting to fall apart, but it still holds up like a champ. So really, it's up to you on the quality of the arm that you need. Don't overspend your budget in this area. Also, don't overspend on headphones. You simply need something to monitor your voice along with the voice of others. I personally use the Audio-Technica M50X headphones, which I've had for 7 years now, and they're great. Another solid pair that it's a little bit more budget friendly are the Sony headphones, which I've personally used many times. I'll link to these headphones along with a few others down below. All right, so let's talk software. If you are doing a one-person setup, you have a lot of options. If it's just you and no guest, you could use something free like Audacity, or if you have a Mac, you could record into GarageBand. Both of these are free, and you can use them to handle both the recording and the editing of the podcast. And the same goes for Adobe Audition, which is what I personally use, but like all major Adobe products, that one costs money. When you are recording remotely with other guests, you are likely going to be talking to them via something like Zoom or Skype or Discord, so you can actually see each other. And you could just record straight through that software. For example, Zoom has the option to record your call, and afterwards you can go into Zoom, download that audio, and dump it into one of your editing softwares like that I mentioned before. The pro of this is it's super convenient. You just hit record, have your conversation, and export. The downside is you're downloading a compressed version of your conversation. You're also usually only getting one file with everybody talking versus individual files for each person. And the reason you might want individual files is if one person is quieter than the others, in post-editing, you could raise the volume of just that one person. So it's not going to sound as good as if you just recorded directly to your computer. So what a lot of people do is they will still have their conversation on something like Zoom or Discord, but in the background, they will have something like Audacity or GarageBand open, and it'll be recording that microphone's audio. Now, that only records the microphone connected to your computer. Your guest will need to be doing the same thing and then send you their audio afterwards, and then you can dump all of those files into your editing software and export as one conversation, one podcast. At this point, you've got your first podcast episode recorded and ready to publish. That's where Buzzsprout comes in. Buzzsprout is a super easy to use platform that not only makes it easy to publish your episodes, and by easy I mean literally drag and drop your file, give it a title, a description, and hit publish, but it also walks you through step by step getting your podcast syndicated on all of the major listening platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and many more. Setting that up is a one-time process. So once your podcast is listed on all those platforms like Spotify and whatnot, all you need to do moving forward is log into your Buzzsprout account, upload your latest episode, and Buzzsprout will automatically update all of those platforms with your latest episode. Now, if you are a creator like me and you are using podcasts as a way to expand your audience, you're going to want to see the data of not only how many people are listening, but who is listening. And Buzzsprout gives you all that data, such as platforms they're listening on, what devices they're listening on, and even where your listeners are listening. Not only that, but Buzzsprout actually provides you with your own webpage where all of your episodes are automatically published, and you can even use your own custom domain. And if you already have your own website and you just want the episodes embedded on your website, then they have a tool that lets you customize the look and feel of your embedded episodes so that it fits the design of your website, which is really cool. My favorite feature of Buzzsprout is their magic mastering tool, which lets you drop in an audio file, and it uses advanced technology to automatically clean up your audio, making it sound way better. So little stuff like hums in the background or a slight echo in the room, that type of stuff can be cleaned up without having to do much. And the last thing I'll say about Buzzsprout, it is a paid solution, but the cool thing is you can get started right now completely free. Your first 90 days are free, and then after that, they have several low-cost options, and I will, of course, link to them below for you to check out. So with that, you have what you need to not only launch a podcast, but launch a good podcast. With the combination of the gear and software I've recommended, you'll really be able to put together a great production. Podcasting is growing every single year and shows no signs of slowing down. It's a great way to enter the content creation space since you don't have to worry about the video aspect of things. And if you're already a YouTuber, podcasting is a great way to not only expand your audience, but to keep your current audience engaged. Podcasting should not be looked at as an alternative to YouTube. It's an expansion. It allows you to get super long form in your content, and it increases the amount of time you get in front of your audience at times when YouTube is just not convenient, such as when someone's exercising, they're driving, or they're just laying down and they want to fall asleep to some audio. So if you're still looking for New Year's resolutions, make this one of them. Launch a podcast this year, start experimenting with that, and hopefully these resources in this video will make that journey as easy as possible. If this video was helpful, give it a thumbs up, and as one last reminder, everything I've referenced in this video will be linked to down below, so if you forgot to take notes, I got you covered. Until next time, my name is Brandon Hassler, and this is Tech Audit TV.